Is this thing recording?
Yes.
Is my microphone on?
Confirm.
Whoops.
Shut up and sit down.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's not a good idea, and no one should ever do this. That's basically the theme here.
Sure, I've got two little wheels on the
Yeah,
side.
Everesting can take a break.
Yeah, not doing
But
that.
that's why my bike is one sweet ride.
I would do another really big bike ride that was a big adventure, but I don't know that I will ever choose to ride up and down the same road for 12 hours
I
again.
won't give them up. That's just how I roll. That's
You are
how
listening to
I
the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. John Krakauer once said that Everest has always been a magnet for kooks, publicity seekers, hopeless romantics, and others with a shaky hold on reality. Sounds about right.
I've got to have
3 things I learned from Everesting. I can eat a lot of food in one day. Social pressure is quite meaningful in things like this. I want to say that I found out that I was tough or something, but I think that I already knew that about myself.
That's just how I roll. That's how I roll.
I was just quite miserable.
I feel like it went from boring to miserable.
But no, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, so that was super dumb. It really hurt, and I'm never doing it again.
I will never Everest again.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During, and I'm here with Lance Epler.
Lance Romance, here for your listening pleasure.
In studio.
In studio.
Yeah, I can hear you this week.
Yes, I think you can hear me this
We
week.
think.
That's
good.
Not like I'm talking from the closet.
Yeah.
I'm not in the closet.
It's not too early.
I'm not out of the closet. I'm going to stop talking
We actually
right
have the
now.
podcast in the closet, yes. Okay.
To his right. My God, this guy's a champ. Mr. Evan Price.
Evan Price.
I've decided to, we're going to skip an intro here. I decided to keep the mustache for a little bit longer.
That's what Lance said.
A little bit longer.
I said
don't
that
know
8 months
how
ago.
long.
8 months ago,
I
that's
know.
what I said.
I don't know how long I'm going to keep it, but it's going to be a little bit longer. Just a little bit.
By the way, you can't skip your intro. There's 8 things sitting on this table
true.
right now.
Yeah, what are we drinking? There's actually a lot of drinks right here. We're drinking
lot of drinks.
Starbucks coffee. I got Salil cucumber melon seltzer water. I just got hit in the face by Lance.
I'm double fisting here.
Yeah, we're all double fisting.
I've got
Every single one of us is double fisting.
I've got Polar Seltzer Black Cherry and LaCroix Limoncello.
Oh, those are competing companies. Which one do you think you're like
I
more?
don't know. They both
That
suck.
limoncello's
They're
pretty
both
good.
about the same.
I also have the limoncello and a coffee. Half Starbucks caffeinated and mostly non-caffeinated home blend.
Ditto minus the home blend stuff here.
Yep.
All right. And to his right, Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking, I don't know, climtastic?
Why, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is Lance a people of the internet?
He is of the internet.
I am of the internet.
He's on the
You can
internet.
find him on Instagram on the interwebs.
You can.
At Dr. Hep
Or his dog.
or his dog.
Matt, I'm going to start with you this week.
Yep.
Why don't you backpedal for us?
Pass.
Oh, come on, dude.
No,
You had actually
okay.
a pretty fun weekend.
So yes, the weekend was awesome. Earlier in the week, I paced Ethan to a sub. Ethan's my oldest kid. He is 10 years old, and he's been training. He's really been running like every single day. He'll go run a mile. He'll do these things. And one of the times he went to the track and he did a hard mile, and he went 7:17 or something like that. And I was like, let's do it. Let me like pace you.
Wow.
And I brought my camera stuff, of course, because I'm like,
That's what you do.
this is if you're a dad, like I have this theory that all the YouTube videos and stuff is just like, throwback to dad camcorder time.
Right. You don't have
Right?
to. You don't have
just
to
a
set
new
up
era.
the.
This is just the
Yeah,
new era.
yeah,
of
You don't have to
dad
set up a
Dad
projector
camcorder.
in the attic. You can just go to YouTube.
But
now.
I could set up a projector in the attic, so I will. But
do a
yeah,
video on
so
that.
so I paced him, and we went. What was crazy is we went out slow, and we had to get back on pace or whatever. So he negative split each lap. He went 6:56, and I was like, oh, that was a close one. I wasn't.
That
sure
was
he
the
gonna
coolest
make it.
thing I heard all week is when he was like, Ethan went sub-7, and just seeing how happy he was about it.
It was pretty
so
cool.
Awesome.
He was like, I'm going to post this to Instagram, and it like took the watch, and he has like a little on his Instagram account, which you can find. It's Ethan P. Legrand. I'm a little scared to give it out, but
he is
he's
10.
out there. Yes. Also this week, I did a couple of other little runs. He and I did a long run. We're doing a long run each week as well. We did 5 miles. My physical therapist is doing a good job because my Achilles felt pretty
Starting to
good
feeling decent
for 5 miles. And then other news, I really didn't ride that much. I might have ridden around. I'm basically out of bikes. I'm selling all my bikes, and I think I'm down to a broken TT bike at this point.
Wait. You traded one of your bikes.
I traded one of my bikes.
We
this
did talk
week.
about this a little bit.
We can talk about this. So I had a fixed gear bike that was not getting used, and I got it for relatively cheap because fixed gear bikes are actually cheap. So if that's what you're into, they are an affordable option. And so actually, I think this was Jake's idea a long time ago. He was like, you know what you should do? Put it up for most interesting trade. And I looked at Jake with those lovey eyes like, this is the best idea I've ever heard. It just took me a year to actually do it. So, so I put up that bike and I said, most interesting trade. And there was some funny stuff, not a ton of stuff, but there's some funny things like, I'll bake you some cookies. I'll give you my kid. There's a whole bunch of funny
That'd
little
be a
things.
terrible trade.
Yeah, it was
you're trying to offload
broken
responsibility.
down 1970 shoulder.
Yeah, shoulder, broken shoulder. There's some great stuff, but the one that I thought was just above and beyond was, basically this 100-year-old Italian accordion that was numbered. It was number 7 of 200 or something like that.
What?
Right?
Wow.
I know, and I was like, this looks good. I was like, I'm going to wait another week to see what else happens, right, within this trading, barrage of ideas. And I was just like, this, and I do want to make a video about this, so you guys, this video is spoiled for you if you guys watch it later. But then I ended up meeting up with Mark. I'm sorry, no, it was Scott. And he brings over, and he's like, are you sure this is, you're getting stuck with this accordion? I'm like, yeah, this is an awesome accordion. And it was just the coolest thing. It's this super old accordion. I brought it inside, cleaned it up a little bit, sat with my kids, and we started playing it. And my kids were just pumped because they play piano, so they can immediately get down and play. Mm-hmm. And so we played the Office theme song, and I can give you the audio of that. You can pipe it in somewhere.
You should play that for us here,
okay?
Because I think it'll sound all right on the microphone.
We can do it.
While you're pulling that up, real quick, did he bring you a jar of Advil or Tylenol?
I told the kids, I was like, this is Dad's accordion. If you're going to play, I'm going to sit with you. Because I actually really don't want
it's
it to get
an antique, right?
Yeah, I'm just because my kids are rough on everything. The reason I had a steel cyclocross bike was because I knew my kids would just beat the snot out of it. But the accordion, I'm like, if this thing falls or whatever, and I kind of just want it in the backdrop of some of the videos in the future. I just think it's such a cool talking piece. But yeah, the kids can play it, and they can play a lot better than I can because they can play piano. But here, I'll try to play a clip for you guys. This is Office theme song, but there's also a harmonica in the background as well. So 5-year-old and a 10-year-old. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, Matt.
Ethan's right on. Dash is a little off.
Yeah.
It's like two seals clapping happy birthday.
Yeah. So, yeah, great week. That's my back pedal.
Awesome. Mr. Hepler.
Yes.
Why don't you backpedal for us?
Well, it was a rest week for me, so of course I did 20 hours.
I love it when you're like, it's a rest week. Oh, yeah, Saturday got a little out of hand.
I did 20 hours. Well, originally it was supposed to be a rest week because there was going to be a gravel race. In a huge case of not surprise, it was postponed. So it got pushed to September. So, which is all.
It didn't just get postponed. It's like it didn't just kind of barely not happen. It's like, oh no, we'll try in the fall.
We'll
again.
try in
it's
the
like,
fall.
Here's what I understand. Why did they cancel that race so late?
Because
last week it was on.
Last week it was on,
and they were like, no one's registering, and they were.
I think it's the same reason that Ironman's doing it.
I think it was just they were just hoping that they could still pull it off and that it could still happen. And he probably just got too much hate.
Yeah.
And so it got postponed, which was fine. So I ended up just riding all week anyway.
You had a more fun day, right?
You did. You had a big day on Saturday.
Fun's a strong word. Fun's a strong word for what Saturday was.
I did ride 320 miles. I messed around on these e-bikes a couple of times this week, which was cool. A ton of fun. some with my wife, and we did some modeling for Jake and to create some.
The mustache
content.
is really bringing in a lot of modeling contracts.
Mustache is as bad as you think it is, folks.
So, Jake, how about you? Do you want to backpedal? And
You're
then we'll
starting
go?
to grow out.
That's going to be the plan. This Lance's.
He's actually starting to grow like a little bit of a tuft under the lower lip.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Is that
trying
plan?
to even it out just a little bit.
I think you need to get rid of that part.
Okay.
That part needs to go. What do
keep
you
it
think?
clean, except
no,
for
yeah,
the
only the mustache. You can't.
I'm no
triangle
expert.
down there.
It takes away from it.
Okay, well, it's all stupid anyway, so I'm just gonna keep at it. But yeah, I guess Saturday, or I did ride quite a bit this week. Instead of doing this gravel race, there actually is supposed to be a mountain bike race coming up this weekend.
Okay.
And the mountain bike race, they are doing it time trial format. So everybody does the same course.
That's smart.
But everybody goes a minute off at a time. And anytime you are in somebody's draft or passing somebody, you have to have your neck buff up.
Okay.
So those are the plans. It's probably more likely that that's actually going to happen, but we shall see. So me and a teammate went down and pre-rode the course on Saturday morning. It's like a 17-mile course or something like that.
Was it fun?
It's a ton of fun. It's very difficult. There's almost 3,000 feet of climbing in it in 17 miles.
What?
Which is a lot. But that's
Wow.
mountain biking.
Okay, I don't know.
That's pretty normal with mountain biking. So me and Surratt went down and had a good time. I'm glad we did it because
How's Chris doing?
He's doing good. He has vowed not to shave his beard until he races again. So he looks as ridiculous as I do. Okay. So that makes me happy.
Yeah.
But it was fun to be able just to hang out with Surratt and do some mountain biking. I'm glad I did because I totally cut the sidewall on my rear tire and flatted and realized there was no sealant in my rear tire and it didn't seal and we had to tube it to
Do you think it
save
would
our
have
ride.
do you think it would have sealed?
Maybe.
Had it? You think? Okay, so
Maybe.
not a huge slash or
Yeah. So we actually tried to plug it a couple of times and then realized there was no sealant coming out. And it's because there's no sealant in the tire. Way to go, Hepler, you're an idiot. So
you just haven't ridden that bike in a while.
I hadn't ridden it in a while. So it was good to go lay on it a little bit. And we laid on it for a couple hours, which was fun. So we got done pretty early. I drove back to Vancouver and thought I'll go spend a half an hour with the Everesting boys.
So-
And this will come up here
We'll
today.
talk about it. Did you
So the plan was only a half.
did you
hour.
drive over to the hill or did you ride over? Or both?
I drove there because the mountain bike was about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And so-
well, I meant like for the Everesting stuff.
I parked. I have a big van, and I didn't want to
You do.
park at the intersection because they're.
Just park across it.
I parked like up the road. There was a spot up the road like a quarter mile away that was
appropriate
for me to park the big van.
Oh, yeah.
So I parked a little ways away. So
He had multiple bikes with him too. So.
I had a bunch of bikes.
So
with
that's what I
me.
was thinking. I was like, you got the van, you got options.
So yeah, I went to ride about a half an hour with the Everesting boys. Plan to do it fully, do a couple laps on the e-bike just to make them feel like idiots. And
I think that was a great idea.
so I got on the e-bike, which was really fun. I was able to film some little video clips and go. I'd never, when I was on the e-bike, I never went fully to the bottom so that I didn't get on the segment. I tried.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to stay off the segment on the e-bike, and I did that for 3 or 4 laps with them. And then I realized, I might actually be able to be some help here. And so I got on my regular bike, not the e-bike, and ended up doing 25 laps with them. So I rode for 4 hours with them.
How much was that elevation-wise?
It was 10,500 feet.
Jeez.
So like 10,600 feet or something like that.
That's a big day.
Wow.
That's just a big day on its own.
Well,
and then the e-bike, you had to probably, the battery gave out at some point.
It didn't. It hadn't given out yet.
okay.
But it was time for me to actually pace these guys and not just
Play on the e-bike.
mock them.
Come on, man. I had fun on the e-bike. So I got out there. Also, I didn't mention this in my back pedal, but yeah, the e-bikes are so much fun.
Yeah, they are.
You're just putting in 100 watts or less and just talking.
Oh yeah,
having
Lance
fun.
was updating me with the amount of watts he was putting out the entire
Oh, yeah.
time. It was great.
Pushing 60 watts right now. What was fun is Mike Guyvan came out and took an effort
Yeah, he did.
to get the KOM on the segment that these guys were Everesting on.
How many people took attempts that day? 3?
Three.
That's
Hatfield,
just cool.
Hatfield, Kent Ross,
Yep.
and Mike Guyvan.
Yep.
In my opinion, I just think like the atmosphere of. I mean, we can talk about this when we talk about.
Yeah, let's
Evan's
press
background.
pause on that and save it for the topic for today.
But the Guyvan part I wanted to talk about.
Right.
He was making a KOM attempt. He's on his bike going full out. I'm on the e-bike riding with one hand, filming him and coaching him at the same time. Just like, come on, Mike.
And
let's
honestly,
go.
As he's
that's
finishing at like over 600 watts.
Yeah,
at the end
he's
of that
pushing
climb.
600 watts, and I'm like, let's go.
He was not a talking mood at that moment.
I think at that speed, you're getting some draft. You're going to be able to get a benefit to having some draft.
You weren't in
Even
front
though
of him, though.
You weren't really in front of him.
I
right,
was next to him.
but
I was
you
trying to
could.
film it.
Yeah. I don't know what that falls into the rules of KOMs.
That's a good question. That's like
because drafting is
a
legal.
scooter. Yeah,
drafting is legal, right? But okay, drafting a scooter, drafting a car, it's probably the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I had a great time. My week was fantastic. I rode way more than I planned to, but I still feel pretty good. So
Cool.
enough of me.
Your Whoop strap is telling you you're still alive.
I had a really good recovery today.
Yep.
So go figure.
No, Lance is actually one of my favorite stories from Saturday because if you looked at your cumulative, just like watts that day, like TSS score, however people like to assess that, you had a massive day Saturday.
I was almost
That's
five.
a hard
it was
2
almost
hours
a
on the mountain bike.
500 TSS day.
That's a huge day.
Big day on the mountain bike.
It's
and
a
big day on
big
the
day.
It was a
forced
big
tone.
day.
Yeah. So you were probably only like 6 or 7 or something like that.
It was like
6 or 700.
so. I don't even want to say the actual number Strava gave me, and I'm not making this up. It was literally 666.
Oh, yeah.
Is actually what Strava gave my suffer score for, which I'm not sure. I swear that was not on. There was
Evil effort.
That was it was a very evil effort. Yeah.
I'm going to jump into my back pedal real quick, and then we're going to come over to you, Mr. Evan Price. 5.5 hours on Zwift.
Nice.
Trying to kind of ease my way back
That's
in there.
good.
Just kind of got on there and rode easy one day, and then I did a couple of zone 2s.
Wow.
The one you did, was it this morning or last night?
Last night.
Last night looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I was doing some like threshold work for
Yeah.
basically it was 4 times 5 minutes. So just trying to hold over 310 watts for the 5 minutes, which for me that's kind of like a sweet spot.
Yeah.
It felt better than I thought it would. So
Have you put together like a program to kind of build back up for yourself? Have you built yourself your own program or
no?
You're just
It's
kind of
not
like
yet.
you're
I
like,
don't-
hey, this
yeah,
I
well,
should go medium effort here.
The other
Yeah.
thing, I'm going to start working that back in there. I don't have a program because I don't really have anything. Like, what am I training for?
I know, but sometimes it's like, you're thinking like, okay, we had this surgery, and here's my 4-week plan to get back into whatever normal, building back to 10 hours per week or something like that. Right?
Jake's got that 10-hour sweet spot for him that just seems to be like
that works
boom,
well.
boom,
And if
boom.
I could, be like Lance Hepler and ride 20 hours, and it would be even better. But that's just when I balance life out. 10 hours seems to work where I've got a balance between my riding, my work, and my family. So that works. I am going into the doctor tomorrow for my post-op follow-up, which will be yesterday as you're listening to this, if you listen to it the day it came out. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he's going to give me the go-ahead to get back out on the bike. That is killing me. So watching everybody this past weekend was just... It kind of breaks your heart. It's gut-wrenching. It's like I can't even go on Strava right now and look and see what people are doing. I did go and look at your guys' stuff up, but
well,
again,
Jake also technically
nope.
No,
Didn't happen.
No. Nothing. Whatever.
I sat on a device that
he did drive a car. But
I sat on a device that took me to the bottom of a hill a couple times.
It was a car, but
but last week I trumped you. I beat you.
What?
I beat you. 21.5 hours.
Dang it!
Of physical therapy.
Can we add the bike hours into that too? I consider the bike hours part of that.
Well, if you want to do that, then you're at 27 hours.
27
I consider
hours.
aerobic
Jake
exercise
smoked
part
me.
of any post-op process.
If I can figure out how
26
to
hours,
if I can figure out how to take even like 20 hours and build that into my normal schedule, like moving forward, that'd be fantastic.
We have to have your trainer set up in here, so every moment you're on the phone, you just hop on it, boom, knock out 15 minutes,
There you
back
go.
off it.
There you go. 17.5 hours on the continuous passive motion machine last week, you guys.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
He's
just
becoming very good friends.
maybe I can have Ethan come over and play me some.
Yeah, that would be
accordion.
a lot of fun.
I don't even think I slept that much this week.
Really?
No, I mean that is so much time.
Yeah.
On
Just
that
sit there,
machine.
and it's this thing's going like a quarter of a mile an hour, and like raising my arm up, and then it goes back down, and you're just sitting there like, you can't do things because
I think it would go really well with the Office theme song.
Yes.
Actually, I think that activity I think it was made for that sort of movement. You know,
Do you like watch TV or YouTube or answer
sometimes
emails or
a little bit of that? I don't watch TV. I watch YouTube stuff. I guess that is kind of watching TV, but I prefer that just to watching TV. But yeah, it's usually trying to text people back with one hand or email people back with one hand. So you're doing things at like half the speed.
Stares in the mirror and positive self-talk the entire time.
That's what I do every morning.
Yeah.
Hours. Yeah. So when you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, if you're wondering what I'm doing, that's what I'm
Probably
doing.
the passive range of motion machine.
But yeah, that's about it for me. Wasn't I got to watch Evan this past week.
Evan, we can skip your back pedal, right?
To be honest, your guys' back pedals of Saturday are going to be much more interesting to me because mine was pretty repetitive. So
why don't you backpedal everything minus Saturday? Because I want to leave that as its own thing. So how did last week go for you?
So last week was great. Actually, sitting here right now with me is my mother, who is from the wonderful state of Ohio. Yes, and she flew out here I'm not sure if the original plan was for it to always be this Everest week, but we knew at some point later this summer, once COVID things calmed down a bit and travel was going to be okay, that she wanted to come out to the Pacific Northwest and visit. And it just worked out that this weekend was going to be good. She's a teacher, so we obviously had to do that around her work schedule, which this is the only time of year she's able to really travel at all. But, so she came in Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. And then Friday we got to hang out and get ready for everything Saturday. Saturday we'll talk about. And then yesterday, which was Sunday, we had Cassie's like the greatest Portland foodie, like
she is.
Oh my,
which is cool.
We spent all day. Well, so we woke up in the morning and did our open water swim. She got to see a lot of the, a bit of the triathlon team that comes out and does our Horseshoe Lake swim.
Yep.
Then right after that, we went and ran in Forest Park, which was your first time in Forest Park, right?
That's a great place to
Yeah,
run.
That is.
It was our first time in Forest Park. We got lucky and did not get rained on somehow the whole day. And then from Forest Park, we got a little bit of food, and then
Where did you guys go for food afterwards? Did you go to that French? There's one at the.
I know
what
you're talking about. Yeah.
What's the name of that road?
What's the name of that brunch place? I know what you're thinking of.
Where'd you guys go?
No, so we went and got. Oh, T, I'm gonna need your help on this one. This is
post race pastries.
I know.
There's a whole Instagram account about this.
I got the whole bowl, and then you guys got the biscuits and gravy.
Oh yeah, we went to Pine Street. That's where we went.
Pine Street
Pine
biscuits.
Street, yes.
Fantastic
and I got
place.
the deluxe. Of course, I got the deluxe.
The Reggie.
My bad. But the Reggie deluxe. Yeah.
I guess I know too much about the food
For anybody who
scene.
doesn't know, it's basically 2 biscuits, fried chicken, gravy, egg.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you
incredible.
put all those calories right back in?
Oh, just
you're like
I tried my best. That is for sure.
Maybe do a little swim, maybe a little run, but no problem.
Yeah,
the calories are coming back in.
I did make
force.
I'm kind of feeling it today. I was really so Cassie and my mom decided to run in Forest Park on Wildwood.
Yeah.
Cassie knows that. Ran to the witch's house, ran back. They ended up getting 9 or 10 miles in. So
wow, that's good because that's a very hilly route.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just straight up or straight down the whole time.
Yeah. And then I originally was like, I'm just going to jog 3 or 4 miles, and then started feeling good. And my GPS lost me. So I'm like, these don't count, right? Once your GPS loses you. So then I just started.
Leaf Erickson Trail?
Yeah. And there were some high schoolers on it. So I was like, I'm just going to pace with these kids. So I ran after them, ran with them, tried to drop them because that's dumb, because
Did
I
you
wanted
talk
to.
to them?
No.
Weird
Ran up
guy.
next to them, put the buff up, and then just tried to drop them.
Weird guy with a mustache.
Yeah, I was just running by him fast.
Buff in your mustache.
But the legs felt good, so I wanted to run fast. Started clocking my miles just by the posts, and I was like, I'm running like mid-6s, feel good. Running back, I tried to PR. I PR'd my little last descent at Leaf.
Right.
Felt great. Got back to the car. Bad idea.
Well, yeah,
really bad. As soon as I got back to the car, I was like, that was a terrible. I ran like 12 or 13 miles of like tempo running. I was like, that was a really poor decision. But that's why I need a coach. But yeah,
that's why I need a coach.
But yeah, we got to
the coach would just be like, don't do that. That's all you need.
But we went to Mount Tabor too, which I had not been to Mount Tabor before.
Yeah. Cool spot.
There's a cool bike race that goes around Mount Tabor.
there is.
I've never been over there. It's funny because it's like pretty close.
It's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool.
Little extinct volcano right in the Portland city limits.
Seriously?
Yes.
Is that what Mount Tabor is?
It is an extinct volcano.
That blows my mind. I did not know that.
And they have a race that goes up it, and it's like a weekly race in the summertime.
Yeah.
When there are bike races.
Yeah.
There's no bike races this year.
And it's like a corkscrew going up, basically.
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so there's this nice little climb and then this screaming fast descent. It's like a circuit. It's a great race series.
That sounds like a blast. Yeah. But yeah, we got a whole view of the city from the top of Mount Tabor. And yeah, I think Cassie did an awesome job of showing my mom the city, basically.
We're selling it. We're selling you on this town.
We're trying to get her to consider moving out here. So we'll put her on the spot and have her answer that. Are you going to move out here in the next decade here by the end? But but yeah, and then today we finally moved myself basically entirely out of my apartment, which has been a slow process. Yep. And now I am here.
And here you are.
So yeah. Yeah.
Cool. We will come back to your Saturday shenanigans.
We'll pretend like Saturday didn't happen for a second.
There's lots to talk about still.
Patreon, you guys.
Patreon.
Right. Ooh, this is a fun one.
This is a fun one, and I thought this was Lance all weekend long, and I was going to keep this in my back pocket. And then I asked Lance about it when he came in here this morning. He's like, "Huh? We have a new Patreon, you guys.
New Patreon.
Champ Bailey is the new Patreon.
Somebody signed up as a Patreon as Champ Bailey. I am equal parts honored and offended.
I am super curious.
I'm super curious, too. The email is like...
champbaileyout@gmail.com.
Yeah, so we don't know who
No way.
Yeah, somebody made an email account and signed up. So that's... Whoever that is, thank you. It is not me. It is not my wife.
Maybe Hannel or someone.
It could be somebody like that, but
there's so many
we got to get
personalities on our team.
We have a lot of
to the bottom of that. Yeah, and we get funny things like that from time to time. Maybe we need to talk about these more, like some of the letters that we've received. Which are pretty funny. From a Mr. Grumpy, if you're listening out there, I know that we've never brought this up, but we did receive your letter. And
we did receive a written letter.
Yeah, it was pretty funny,
from a guy who called himself Mr. Grumpy.
Yeah.
And he was basically saying, there's this guy on Strava. He has all the KOMs. You guys need to go take some KOMs so that he feels a bit humbled.
Well, he put a bounty on it, too.
He put a bounty on it.
If you take a certain amount of KOMs and hold them for a week, he would buy us a case of Kirkland sparkling water.
Yeah. That's the way to get us to do something.
That's right.
To buy our love.
Don't give me $500. I want Kirkland sparkling water.
We'll circle back to that to another time. But the Patreon spotlight, though, for this week is going to be Jenny Hamness.
Jenny Hamness.
Jenny Hamness of the Hamness family, who are Patreons of ours. She went out on a whim, I'm thinking maybe, but by herself in her neck of the woods over there. She lives in Washougal, kind of in her neighborhood, if you will, and did a 10K. 10,480 feet of climbing.
Yes.
Wow.
All what looks like in her neighborhood. It was like a very small little sector there, and she did it in 51 miles, which is actually pretty stinking good.
Actually really good.
Yeah, because when we've done our Prune Hill 10K, usually I think I got it down to about 50, 56.
The first time we... I don't know.
The first time it was over 60.
Yeah, 60-something.
And we pared it down. We tried to make it a little bit more efficient. It got it down to like 54, 55, but she did it in 51 and change.
Wow. That's good.
That's a
in
lot.
5.5 hours. That's
if you're
pretty
choosing
good.
different climbs and going just throughout your neighborhood, that's like an 8-9% average. That's a lot.
So just wanted to give her a little shout out and say
awesome.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Jenny.
Amazing.
So we talked about this last week. If you could hear us talking last week, and
we were whispering about.
We've got this little drawing that we're going to do this week. And Matt, you want to tell people what you see right here?
Yes, this is the famous dialed buff, which I need to buy one of these as well because this is the time of the world when we need to be able to cover our mouths. Definitely, when you're riding and you want to pass people on the trails or whatever it is, just so nice to have something to be able to pull up and cover your mouth. And,
when you want to go flying through Costco, they work pretty well too.
And I posted a video yesterday, and it was like my wife was like, "You guys could have had so much more like masks on and coverage and all this stuff," and there was a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt
from the wife. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do it, people. Yeah. Don't be like me. Wear your buffs. Wear your masks.
So we're going to pull the name out of the little thing here. I've got everybody who is a Patreon in here. Who would like to pull it out?
T.
Yes. All right. Yes. Come on, T. Pick one out of there.
Podcast guest.
All right. Drum roll. Who's going to win the buff?
Let's see what we got.
Nice drum roll there. Who is that?
The Hamness family.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? What are the odds? They get a twofer this week.
They get twofer. Nice. All right.
That was legitimate too. Everybody's names were in
that
there.
was.
It was folded up or triple folded up.
There's
so
no video of that. People aren't going to believe us, but we swear that was
coming your way.
All right. So Terry and Jenny, you guys come by and claim your buff.
He deserves that buff for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. All right.
That's too bad it wasn't Scott Troutman, because he just texted me saying, "Hey, I need a buff."
Need a buff.
I was going to come by, but you guys are all recording right now, so
sorry,
text
Scott.
me when you're done.
We're sorry, Scott.
Almost, man. Almost. Champ
Bailey.
Is Champ here?
Champ Bailey here.
Champ Bailey. Can't believe
I got some news
got
for
an
you.
email account and everything now.
I've got an email account.
You're so grown up.
I'm ghosting. All right. 3 things to talk about in the world of cycling. The one thing that I thought was pretty cool, it looks like that Sepp Kuss is going to make the World Tour team for the Tour de France. For Jumbo Visma, which is amazing.
Because
Because
a team going for the win.
it is a solid team.
That's a cool team.
Yep. Sepp will be the youngest person on the team. He's 25 from Colorado.
Wow.
He used to train and ride with Payson McKelvin quite a bit because they're both from the Durango area. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That Durango area, I'll tell you what, they have some really good young cyclists that have come out of the Durango area.
Yeah. Too ridiculous. Next, there was a time trial race in Slovenia. Why is Slovenia the only country that's holding races?
I don't know.
Okay. So Slovenia had their road race last week. And who won last week? Roglic beat Pogacar. So now they had the time trial, and guess who won?
Oh, and guess who are the 2 people who are the only ones in Slovenia who can ride bikes fast, apparently.
But Pogacar beat Roglic in the
did.
time trial.
Wow.
So that's kind of
Pogacar
crazy.
is he's going to be somebody to really keep your eye on over the next couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very cool. The other thing was there's a bit of a conflict in the World Tour schedule also this year. The World Championship time trial is scheduled for the same day as one of the stages of the Tour de France.
The last stage.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Day.
They should just have it at the same place and then just do it in the morning and then just start the stage later in the afternoon.
Yeah, maybe they should do that.
Yeah.
So what it'll do,
Did nobody look at the schedule there and they're like...
they did. It's just like, it's so packed. It's all so condensed that
but
they
when
just...
you're talking about the biggest road race in the world...
And the biggest time trial
in the world, why would you do that when you know that the best time trialists are going to be at the Tour?
Because they're run by different organizations. And they all
that is
want
true.
money.
They are. ASO is not going to want to cooperate with UCI. So yeah,
but they're both like watering down the whole race calendar for that.
Yes,
that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
thing.
I'm sure they've got some sort of sensibility to why they want to do this, but I'm sure you got to be able to come up with a solution.
You would think that
amicable for
they would
depending on what the tour stage is. I wonder if guys will just maybe they'll give them the option to hey, do you don't want to not ride today?
Who's it going to take out? It's going to take out Rohan Dennis, Roglic, Chris Froome.
Massively important people on their teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Roglic and Froome would skip the time trial and stay with the tour.
Right.
So, yeah.
But like Rohan Dennis or who's the other guy?
Tom Dumoulin?
There's a huge list of guys
There's
that are
guys
going for the
that
time
would
trial.
that would rather do the time trial, that have a chance at a medal in the time trial that
Dumoulin being a big name there. Yeah, definitely.
But anyway.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I honestly don't think either will happen, so.
Yeah, maybe not.
Champ
Bailey, out.
Unless Slovenia
At
maybe
gmail.com.
hosts both. Is it going to be the Tour de France in Slovenia this year?
That's right, maybe. The Tour de Slovenia.
Wasn't there some tour news today? Was there... I can look this up while we,
the Sepp news.
Discussion.
There was virtual tour news.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
This is what I was thinking.
Which I chose not to bring up.
Oh.
No, that was big news, Lance. Why did we not talk about it?
What is the news? Because it was I saw it mentioned, and I was like, what?
They're like setting up a couple stages.
ASO partnered with Zwift for virtual Tour de France. That was the big thing. And I think,
is the tour still a go? I mean,
as of right now, it's still a go.
Was the September? I don't remember what the dates were.
The developers were asked to develop 21 perfect stages.
It's the month of September, like the last week of August, 3 weeks into September. I think Vanderpool was going to participate in the virtual tour. I think that was part of the
announcement.
News. Yeah. But Champ Bailey's already out, so that's not real news.
It's not real news.
That's going to be next week.
That's virtual news.
In virtual real news next week. Virtually real.
All right, our topic this week, Everesting.
Everesting, I heard about it.
Surprise. So we're going to talk we're going to talk about all things Everesting. We're going to have Evan's accounting of his Everesting attempt this past weekend. Did he do it? Question mark? Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about equipment choices, route selection, weather, and talk a little bit about like what it takes for endurance and just kind of wrap our heads around what this whole thing is, because there's so many people out there doing it right now. And I think here locally there was other people that did it this past weekend as well. So it's really starting to gain some momentum. I'm really kind of curious, though, to know from your perspective, like how this all went down. And we've got questions for you. So
still rarefied air, right? Like less than 10,000 people have ever done it that have recorded details. Or so it's about it's somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 people total.
I think the last time I heard was 7,000. I'm sure it's climbing close to 8,000
It's climbing because,
now.
every weekend there's more people that are doing it. But it's definitely popular right now.
Yeah, according to the Everesting Hall of Fame, there are 6,198 people who have successfully submitted an Everest attempt.
Yep.
So
I think by the end of this year it'll probably be closer to 10,000, just because I think a lot of people are, if they're capable, want to give it a shot.
I think 2 weeks ago it was only 4,000.
Yeah. So I think it'll be 10,000 before COVID's done.
How about before we get into all the questions and talking about all the little nuances that go into this, why don't you give us an accounting of what your day was like? Talk about start the night before and then kind of just take us through the whole process.
Do you want to talk about what it is and some of the details? You can.
I'll like fill in some of the details. Kind of.
There you go.
I'll give you three things.
Yeah.
So this makes it really easy what Everesting is. It's climbing the height of Mount Everest, 29,000 feet and 29,029 feet.
A few feet. Yeah.
It's done on one hill anywhere in the world.
Yep. It can only be one hill.
And it has to be done in one activity. No time limit, no sleep. You can take breaks, but you can't take a nap.
And you cannot stop the watch. The watch continues to go. So you can take as many breaks as you want. That watch continues going.
Those are basically the rules.
Yeah. So basically, Friday came around. It was a very normal Friday. Basically, worked here, got home, and thought, I want to go on a ride. Got to ride with David Goodman. Went out, talked to Ivan, gotten to ride with David in a while, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Just rode around, made sure the bike worked. Jake was nice enough to give me his Vanquish head wheels, which was beyond a lifesaver, because I'll tell you what, my gearing was not going to get me through that last 15K. So the 33 climbing gear I had on the Vanquish wheels was incredible.
Great.
That basically made the day. But Friday, get back, we ate. God, T, do you even remember what we ate? I don't even remember what I ate Friday. Oh, I think it was like rice and chicken.
Okay.
Like I literally just ate rice and chicken and a bag of chips. I tried to keep as simple as possible. I was drinking water all day. I was probably peeing every 15 minutes on Friday. Literally every 15 minutes. It was fun. And most of my patients knew I was doing this too, so I think the interrupted bathroom breaks during PT were not, they were understood. But went to sleep really early Friday. Tonk had been texting me, and I know Tonk is, anybody who's trained with Tonk before knows he likes to on weekend rides. He'll get up real early for weekend rides. Start pretty early. He's even been known to ride from home out of Portland. He lives close to, did live close to OHSU.
Yeah.
And he would, ride out from there, but start pretty darn early sometimes for rides, like between 5 and 6 a.m.
That's going to serve him well in the future.
Oh, it will. It absolutely will. And for me, that's time when I'd be swimming usually instead of jumping on a bike. I usually wait on the weekends because I do not get to sleep a ton during the week, and it was a very busy work week. So I knew I needed 8 hours of sleep, or this was going to be a long day. So Tonk's start time was, Matt, you're going to know, it was like 5:30 a.m., wasn't it?
5:30.
Yeah. I got there
5:35 probably. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I got there at 6 a.m. and then was probably riding by 6:10, 6:15 maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. But it was early. The sun gets up here early, so even when Tonk started, it was still light at that time.
The days are long, yeah.
Yeah, so Tonk started. He had 4 laps on me to start. Mm-hmm. Which was that was actually kind of our plan last night. Was like, okay, Tom's gonna have a couple laps in. I know he likes to get up early and feel, or like warmed up by the time that I was gonna be there, which was good. Matt was awesome, and Matt was there early with us, getting some interviews done, some awesome footage early on.
Yeah, I laid the spikes across the road.
laid the guardrails down at the bottom.
You have to, you got to get up early if you're gonna do that kind of sabotage.
Yep. And this climb that we did this on is very close to Jake and Matt's neighborhood in Camas.
That is very nice.
Yeah,
for us. I'm glad you guys chose something for us.
Well, and that was kind of, we wanted to choose a climb that was close to most people on the team, which this area is where a lot of people on the team live in Camas, Washington. The climb is Forest Home, which if you watch Matt's YouTube video, you get to see it. It's in my opinion, a beautiful climb. It really is.
It is.
It's a very nice road. It's like
Did you run it?
It's like a protected neighborhood road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although it wasn't really protected that day. It seemed like there was a
not
lot of cars
protected
coming
that day.
through there.
There were a lot of cars.
There was the high school graduation. The local
Yeah,
high
there
school,
was.
and they were having like a parade that they were doing. A lot of people used that as their thoroughfare to get through to the parade.
Yeah, so we actually did have a ton of cars with streamers going by.
For the most part, though, they were pretty good.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, the entire day, outside of one delivery truck that really did not like me at some point, every single car was very nice.
Yeah.
There was nothing bad going on at any point.
There was a van from Xfinity that I kind of threw
I
my fist
that.
up at a little bit.
Was there
and
another
I think
one?
you
Yeah.
and Sean Henry were there too. And
we were like,
damn you.
I know.
I don't understand. If Comcast requires you to be at home for 8 hours waiting on them, then what is this guy in a rush for?
Yeah. We'll be there between the dates of. So we, Tonk brought a really cool little lap counter, which honestly throughout the day,
cool.
I didn't realize how awesome that was. There came a point in the day where I think the only thing I was able to see was the road and the lap counter. So that actually really helped, being able to just see the laps, because Tonk was keeping them on his computer. But I knew that my computer's an 820 engine, very old, and it died off about 5 hours in. So I was going by my watch the entire time.
Okay.
Which is actually Matt's old watch, which really was a champ the entire time. That battery is still awesome.
Solid.
The battery was still solid.
Yeah, the battery on those watches I think are the best in the. Maybe the Phoenix.
I
a little
like
bit
only
better,
25% off of this the entire day. It was amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But we got going throughout the day. Everybody did a good job of. Our group was never beyond 4, I think.
Yeah,
it was like 4 each time. So we did a good job of staying below that 5 number. I was wearing a buff in the beginning, and I will admit when it got warm, I definitely took the buff off. Sorry, Kristen. I definitely tossed the buff at some point.
Sorry, Kristen.
I really needed to be. I really wanted to be breathing at some point. The buff did not feel good after a bit. But the temperature, we got so lucky in the morning. The temperature was perfect. I think that was what everybody kept on coming up and saying, was like, wow, you guys got lucky with the weather, and we really did.
Yeah. There was a point in time, I know that it was right when Cassie was warming up to go do a few laps. She ended up doing 10 laps with
10
you?
laps.
That was awesome.
She did 10 laps.
Right when she was warming up, and just as she was getting ready to go descent her first, like the sun popped out and that the sun was hitting us. I'm like, ooh, that's a little on the warm side. If those clouds break away, this could get interesting. And it changed back. It kind of went back to like that overcast, and it was just a beautiful day. The temperature was perfect. So
I honestly think that like a lot of people that will try Everesting will like look at the weather and study the weather and pick a day that the weather's going to be perfect.
Okay day.
And honestly, you guys got lucky.
We got so lucky.
Yeah.
We got, especially in this region, there were a lot of really hot days and then a lot of really rainy days.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of days like we did yesterday or Saturday. So, yeah, it was the average temperature through the day was probably 65, 66, and it was cloudy the entire day. Yeah, outside of a few moments like Jay was saying when the sun came out.
Yep.
But the most helpful thing all day was from me and Tonk's perspective was Tonk's wife Annie was at the top of the climb handing him nutrition and bottles, and my mom was handing me bottles and nutrition the entire day.
That's huge.
Which is, if you're going to attempt this, you have to have somebody there assessing, hey, you need this bottle, you need some nutrition.
Yeah.
Matt at one point convinced me. I was pretty convinced I could get through the entire thing on peanut butter pretzels and Swedish fish.
The Swedish fish thing was kind of what worried me.
And I'll tell you what, Matt at one point was like, you need to eat some solid food.
It was like a force-feeding situation.
And I kept on saying no until finally, I think it was, didn't you and Cassie, didn't you at some point were like, Matt, you need to tell him because he's not listening to us. You need to tell him that he needs to eat.
It's lunchtime. It's lunchtime. It's the same breakfast burritos that I force on all the dial cycling team.
Yeah, it was delicious. It was like this flattened egg breakfast burrito, and I had 2 of them, and it was awesome. But I know our plan. So just to talk about like me and Tonk's a little bit different approaches. Tonk was going to start really early, I know, so I wait a little bit longer. He also was really going to stick to his. So I don't have a power meter on my current road bike. he had a plan, and I'll tell you what, by the end of that day, if you want to see whose plan was a better idea, just look at our faces, because Tonk was on his plan all day, and he was between 200 and 210
on the climbs.
On the climb,
nice spinning up him
every single time up.
I asked him after his first one, I was like, what kind of wattage you holding? He's like, right on spot, 200.
Yeah.
It was like 200 on that the whole time.
Every single
time.
And it's funny because it would beep at us, and every single time I'd get antsy, he would be like, nope, slow.
Yeah.
And it was, he was like a metronome. He was a metronome.
That's good.
About 50 laps in.
This is where I'll let Lance tell this part, because here's the problem: is my storytelling for this is not going to be great, because you got to understand too. Tonk took a break at one point for a lap, which we had known because Tonk was 4 laps ahead of me. So he was like, "Okay, you go a lap." So I went a lap, came back up. I realized on that lap, I was like, I went fast on the lap because I was by myself. I really need a power meter because I know how I climb.
Climb by feel.
I like to climb to get it done. So Tonk is very, very good at like knowing exactly where he's at.
He stuck to the plan.
Oh, he stuck to the plan. So
he
good.
didn't look ashen at the end like you did,
No,
Evan.
no, I looked wrecked. But I'll explain why I did that. But yeah, Lance was riding with us when this happened. So
we're like 50 laps
I think
in.
it was 48 if I remember right.
It was
right
like
around
there.
For me, it was 48.
And I'm riding with Tonk and Evan, and all of a sudden, Evan just starts going faster. And he starts going up the road ahead of us. And after 3 or 4 laps, he was like a full half a lap ahead of us. And Tonk is like, what the hell is Evan doing? I'm like, I don't know, but he is going to blow up. If he keeps going at this pace, he is going to blow up.
My plan in my head, this is how dumb my head was at that point.
We mocked you relentlessly.
Oh, I'm sure. I was probably getting mocked at the top and the bottom. Here was my plan, is I wanted to try to be able to finish with Tonk as close as I could to his time.
Right.
So that, 1, I didn't want people to have to wait around much.
Right.
And 2, I wanted to be able to just ride behind Tonk. Because this Everest attempt was set up, the charity behind it, the idea behind it, the organization behind it was all Tonk.
It was all Tonk, yeah.
So I wanted to not be the guy that's like dying finishing 6 laps back when people are like, oh yeah, when's Evan finishing? So that was actually in my head. And 2, here's the main reason. I knew, as my really poor math in my head, I wanted to go under 11 hours.
Right.
And in my head, I was like, okay, if I start pushing now,
I might be able to do it.
I think I can get under 11 hours.
That's pretty rational thoughts, all of that, I will say.
Yeah.
If you had a power meter, that would have helped probably.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You could have gone 220 or something. Be like, I know if I hold 220, I'll catch him after 10 more laps. Or whatever.
Exactly. And it was not like a moment where like anybody was right. There was like 2 or 3 laps where we were quiet for a bit there. If you remember, like I think and Tonk had mentioned, as he got closer to 50, I think that's when it got hard for him.
When you left Tonk, were you like, this conversation sucks?
No.
You're just like, I'm going.
No, because there was nothing said. It was just like we were quiet for like 2 or 3 laps, which is weird because me and Tonk were talking the whole.
You guys were having fun.
Time. Well, we had so much fun till that point.
We kept having people help do laps. I was doing laps with them. Sean Martin
Scott
and Mel
Troutman
showed up.
was
Scott Troutman showed up and did a few laps.
Doug I got to meet.
Doug
what's his last name? Lamey, yeah.
Lamey.
Yeah,
I don't
very
know
nice
how to
guy.
say his last name.
Scott Macbeth was out there for a little bit.
Yeah, so they all did laps, and when we would ride 3 or 4 of us, we were just talking about stuff. Or Guy Van came and did some laps.
Yeah,
so
early in the morning, Elijah and Alex Amparo were out there. Yeah.
So it was good to kind of just distract everybody and let's just keep this conversational pace. And
the first 40 laps, we were literally just riding our bikes and talking.
Right.
Yeah.
So
up an 11% climb. but I did hit a point where I think for me, I just wanted to make sure with this attempt, and this is just where me and Tonk are just different riders. Tonk is an immensely good cyclist, like a very good cyclist, and he's always been very plan based. And he's built this amazing training base and interval base to where that guy's plan is almost always going to work.
Right.
Like he knows his body and his system down to a T. Like if I was a coach and I was looking for guys like who would I want to bring onto my team, I would bring Tonk on first.
Yeah.
Because he's plan based, he's smart, and he's always consistent.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I would not be somebody I'd ever want to bring on the team because I didn't ride with the power meter. I knew I wanted to ride by feel once I left. I knew at some point I was going to try and leave.
Yeah.
And when I left, I was like, I'm just going to go all in for 10 laps. I was like, push as hard as I can. I'm pretty sure a couple of those laps, I may have been like close to 300 NP, which is probably not smart at that point.
Probably.
It was like 25,000 feet in. But I knew that if I didn't go then, I don't think I was going to be even close to under 11 hours. So I knew I had to go at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what happened, you finally caught up a lap.
Yep. I think it was like 6 laps later. I think I caught up.
6 laps later, you caught him, and I thought, okay, he'll just slow up and go at this pace.
Looking back, I should have just gone that pace. This is where I made the mistake. I think I went up next to you.
Yeah, and you go, yes, and you even said, okay, Lance.
Yeah.
I need you to hold this pace.
Yeah.
I think if we hold this pace for the next
11.
10 laps, we're going to be under 11. So let's see what we can do. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, did I just get recruited to?
You did. Because
okay,
you looked really comfortable, and I was like, I need Lance to help me for a second.
So Lance finished out the pacing for the rest of the Everesting attempt with you, and I think the world famous climbing Martins paced up Tonk.
Paced Tonk, yeah.
So it was kind of neat to watch the two groups, and it was kind of neat because you constantly had people coming up, and you guys were separated. So it was fun from a spectator standpoint to see that all happening. But my God, the look on your face.
Oh, I started to really
I
don't
change.
know what was it, like lap 58, maybe 59.
There was like 6 or 7 laps to go, and I turn around. I'm trying to I'm letting Evan sit on my wheel the whole time. And when I got to the bottom and started going up, and I turned around, I'm like, oh, I just gapped him, and that doesn't ever happen. And so I'm like, okay,
it does after 60 laps of
I need to back off a little bit, and I realized, oh.
No, you gapping me was
trouble.
helping, but I will say there was one point where I think somebody had asked me, they're like, it was like I was getting, David Goodman was such a champ, he was lying to me on the splits. He was telling me I was faster than I was when I started to die. He was telling me I was hitting the times that I was much earlier, so I was like, oh wow, I'm not dying off as much as I thought I am. But
do you remember what wattage you were holding when he was dying?
Oh, it couldn't have been much. Probably
when we were going fast.
200.
When we were going fast, I was holding 300.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But I'm 30 pounds heavier than Evan, so I'm holding 300. He was probably holding 250 or 260.
Yeah, because I think I was holding 300 when I was breaking away. Once I caught you guys again, I know I was not holding that same pace.
But at the end, I was holding 200, and he was...
Yeah, so 160,
Yeah,
I was starting to die off.
He was just trying to...
That's not bad.
Hang on.
You looked rough at that point.
Well, and this is where I know it's funny because I do like to think, especially with endurance sports, I'm like a happy person to be around during them, even when it starts to hurt. Like I like to think I don't take the sport too seriously in the competitive moments, but people who have seen me race enough know, and T's probably seen this at a couple races at the end of triathlons. I know Cassie was mentioning she remembers seeing me. If you guys remember from last year, Galveston, when I talked about it on here, there's a moment where Cassie kind of knows that look now, where it's mostly my head starts to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
This time on the bike, I couldn't actually lift my eyes up. So my head started to feel really light.
You were nodding, and you were kind of focused.
Yeah, it was...
Honestly, like, obviously I've had a ton of respect for you ever since I've known you, but you earned so much more respect in my mind after seeing that and being like, this guy is tough. Like, I've never seen tough like that. That was crazy.
I appreciate that, but I'll tell you what, me watching still Tonk go through and be pushing at that point...
Yeah, but...
the thing is Tonk's able to keep that positive demeanor even in those moments I heard was pretty impressive to me too.
I think you were in a different spot than Tonk.
Yeah.
So I think that's okay. I don't think there's any problem with it.
Yeah.
We're all great. Like even when, we do a 100-miler and we have that day where we feel great or whatever it is, like that's fine. But it's when you have those bad days and you're hurting and you still push through, that's where you're like, oh man, this guy's got that extra little bit, that extra something where it's like he won't turn off until he finishes this thing, this race, this whatever.
I think I even at one point apologized to you and Doug, Lance, I think on one climb. I think I apologized to Doug because Doug was being so nice and like trying to talk and like stay positive. I think I remember once I was like not able to lift up my head and acknowledge him. And I think I whispered to Doug, I was like, Doug, I'm usually a lot nicer than this. I'm so sorry I'm quiet right now. He's like, no, man, you're fine. I was like, no, I'm really sorry. I can't talk right now.
It's probably the first time you met Doug, too.
Yeah, it was. Super nice guy. He's awesome. If I'd met him on any other ride, we would have talked for days. But, yeah, it was I think I just went a little early. And for anybody doing this, really understand that if you're going to go for a time and you're going to push at one point, you're going to really pay the piper at some point. Because if I had gone at 54 instead of 48, I probably could have made it and been okay. But if you go too early, those last 5-6 laps of your climb are gonna really hurt.
And I think how valuable this kind of stuff is for your Ironman attempts in the future. Like not just whatever your solo Iron, but like going forward when you race. It's if you pace yourself and things like that, you're gonna have some pretty cool races.
Yeah,
I've said this before in long endurance events. You reach a point where you have to have something pushing you more than just the finish line.
Yeah,
it has to be. It has to be. I'm trying for this certain time, or I don't want to let my family down, or I'm doing this for a charity. There has to be something more than just the finish line, because you'll stop because your head is done, and you don't realize how much farther your body can go once your head is done. And that happens in almost anything.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Well, this is back to when Lance was talking about his Ironman. I know you talked about that tunnel vision that you were getting during the end of your marathon when you were going for your Kona qualifier.
Yeah, and Ironman Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely not getting tunnel vision at any point, but there was a point where the head starts to feel light. You do have that kind of moment where you're like, you're just spinning your legs. Like there's nothing more. You kind of know at some point you're like, you just got to, it hurts, but if you continue the activity, you'd be pretty amazed with how long your body's actually able to go.
When you think you're done,
you probably got another 25%.
Well, there's actually research that shows when you think you've actually hit your limit and you're finished, you still have 40% left.
Oh, yeah. Central governor theory is an interesting theory for anybody who wants to Google that. You can look at, and there's books and books on this. There is our mind wants to protect certain systems.
Yeah.
If you're able to, and I would not suggest turning that off frequently, but if you can train, and you got to train yourself to do this. This isn't like you can't listen to YouTube motivational videos and go out there and do this really easily. Right. If you're an endurance athlete, you can train yourself in those longer events, and I just got a taste of this. There are ultramarathon runners out there and ultramarathon
like your mom
out there.
Right.
My mother here
has
done longer runs than I've ever done, and she's actually completed Ironmans. I've never done an Ironman. So she knows when you get to that point, you can shut that off. And it's, that I would not suggest doing it frequently.
It's dangerous, right? I mean, there's definitely something that we should caution people against just doing this.
You can do permanent damage.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So walk us through the descent to go into the last lap.
Oh god.
The last time up.
Yeah, so it's weird. Actually, on that last time up, I do remember
how many of these things turned off, or like did you waken back up?
Yeah.
Did you like all of a sudden have this renewed energy?
I remember on the last descent. So not after the last climbing lap, the one right before last climbing lap, Lance was with me, and Lance was like bombing the descent. And I remember just having this thought, like, this descent's it's a fun descent.
Yep.
I was enjoying that. I was singing to myself at one point on like laps 30 to 40. Like I was singing on each descent, which I was probably annoying the heck out of Tonk by that point if he could hear me. But like we got to like the midpoint of that descent. I was like, I'm going to super tuck down the set because it's so much fun. Thinking back, it's probably not a great idea. But like it became fun again on that last descent. Like it became really, really fun.
Lance, you super tucked, right?
Yeah.
And how's that front wheel?
No comment.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
We're not even going to talk about his.
Come on, Lance.
I learned that afterwards. I didn't even know that.
The people that like you want you to be around and not descend like a crazy person on a broken front wheel.
I hit 60 miles an hour.
Did you touch 60?
Yeah,
I touched 54
on a broken front wheel.
That was my highest.
And my front wheel has a little crack in it. So the new one's on the way. It's probably sitting in Jake's garage
there at
right
that
now.
time.
Can you ease up on descending until UPS does its job and gets the wheels in? Okay, thank you.
I feel like maybe flat ruts would be nice for
I'll keep it under 55.
You're like, what should you not do on a broken wheel? I don't know. Descend at 60 miles an hour multiple
times. How did that hip
times.
feel when you went down going, what were you going, like 40 or something?
I was going 42 when I crashed. And
imagine
it hurt for
18 miles an hour more.
I couldn't walk for a month.
So maybe let's keep it under 40.
Maybe I should keep it under 40.
So you make the turn at the bottom after the super tuck, and Lance almost destroying his front wheel. You turn around, you start coming up. What's going through your head at that point in time? Like, this is the last time I have to go up this.
Yeah, that was
How much pain were you in, and were you able to override that?
That was actually I remember that last one because all of a sudden I realized how sore certain muscles were.
Yeah.
But mentally the fog kind of went away at that point. It was almost like you kind of hit that second bit of coffee there, and it's like the 4 Red Bulls I took over the last 4 hours really helped out. But also having Lance there was really nice because even though I'm sure I wasn't talking loudly, I think I was talking more that last lap.
Evan and I really got to kind of share a moment.
That was
actually
big. Yeah.
Because here we are, we're at the end, and instead of pacing Evan, I was riding next to him, and I'm like, dude, this is fantastic. I'm so proud of you. This is really cool. And Evan, he kind of got emotional, and he's not an emotional guy usually.
No, I did.
And he's like, this is a really cool thing, and it was a neat thing I'm getting chills thinking about it because it was a moment that Evan and I were able to share and on a huge accomplishment. Yeah. So I was just cool. I was really happy just to be there and be a part of it.
My eyes kind of watered for a second during that moment. It was, and I'm not like, I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, I never, I'm not emotional, but it takes a lot for me to get to that moment. And that was, I think it's just, I think about my move out here, and this is a cool conversation to have with my mom here too, because we were just talking about this early today. Is when you dropped me off here in the Pacific Northwest over 3 years ago now. 3 years. Yeah, a little like barely over 3 years ago now. It was like I didn't know us. I had one friend from undergrad who lived in Portland, and that's the only person in the Pacific Northwest I knew, really west of Colorado. I didn't know a single person west of Colorado. So, I mean, when I came out here, I knew nobody, absolutely nobody. And finding this community, this dialed community, there was this kind of moment on that last lap where I really thought about that. And it was like, I mean, we got in the middle of a rough year for everybody. If there was anything that could come of this, I was hoping it was just people could have fun for one day, just on bikes and have fun. And the things you get to share with your like if anybody's listening to this, they're like, I wonder if I should get into cycling. You're going to have moments in cycling that are really hard to have off the bike. And I'll tell you what, almost 30,000 feet of climbing and getting to share a ride up a climb with somebody who you look up to and have been friends with now since he stumbled onto this podcast however long ago.
A couple years ago.
And then have somebody you're right who you ran into on Heritage Trail not too long ago and shares your love of triathlon with, and a guy who I brought my bike to in his garage a couple years ago. that's a moment you don't like. That whole last climb was me just thinking through that. Yeah. So at 180 watts, that felt like 5,000 watts. Right.
So you come around that last turn, you see everybody up there, you hear a roar. There was a roar.
There was a roar.
It was
so
people
neat.
cheering and clapping and yelling, and from a spectator standpoint, it was fun.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you?
That was the first time I actually really heard the cheers, because those last 8 laps, I don't think the only thing I was hearing was, I think, T asking me water was the only thing that I was hearing at that point. That was the first time I heard everybody, and actually got to see some of the people that were there, because I wasn't really picking up my eyes before. So I saw my mom there, which was huge. I saw Cassie, and then Jake at the end with the camera. That was when I clipped out. When I saw Jake. That was the first time I kind of picked up and saw you, and that was cool. That was the little COVID fist bump there was huge at the end. That meant a lot, actually.
You were impressive, my friend.
Yeah. So that was so much fun. That last little 5 seconds of that was incredible.
Cowbells and cheers.
Who had the
a
cowbell?
cool crowd.
It was a cool crowd.
There was several cowbells there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that was neat.
The cowbells are awesome.
There were some coworkers of Jesse's who came over and brought cowbells and were wearing wigs and things.
That's who they were. Okay.
Fun group.
Tour vibe there, yeah.
They had a really cool group there. Yeah. Yep. But it was an awesome day.
So Evan really gets to the top. He crosses the finish line. He's climbed the height of Mount Everest and then some. Stops his watch.
Yeah, I know. Thank God Jake was there to go.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah, he was like, start the watch. You got to descend.
You got to go back down to the bottom, buddy, and start your watch. And it was funny because Sean Martin sent me a text later. He's like, Man, I'm so happy you said that to him because like it could have like nullified your.
It would have nullified the attempt. Yeah,
but he had it all on video too, so it was kind of fun. So.
Well, and then also a big shout out to Brian Floyd, who drove down to the bottom and picked me up instead of making me climb back up. Climb again.
That was so nice of him. It was nice of him to come out. He rode a couple laps with you guys earlier.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I finally got to meet him in person too.
Yeah,
he also got to see how hard. So Cassie's gonna crack up about this. The getting off the bike was actually really hard. Like it was getting the leg that high.
Yeah.
Like was not because so I actually did not get off the bike. So I took 4 P breaks, which me and Tonk were joking the entire time. Our goal was to have them all under 15 seconds. So all of our P breaks were really, really short. Tonk was like on that. I think I was over on 1. But I did not take a break we didn't get off the bike at any point. I think Tonk took 1 lap when I was going. That was it. So Tonk took a 10-minute break. That was it. Yeah, Tonk's only break was 10 minutes, and I decided not to. So,
how much respect do you have for Lachlan Morton now?
So much. When we hit 7.5 hours, I remember thinking in my head, I was like, "That's incredible. That's how in the world."
Pretty nuts.
If you're ever going to do an Everest, look at the clock at 7:30 and realize how far away you are from the top, and say like, "That's what a World Tour climber is."
Pretty amazing.
It's amazing.
That's What was like
a blast of a day.
Like if you had to pinpoint one thing that was like the worst, what was it?
Oh,
you mentioned you had a pretty bad headache at the end.
There was a headache. I'll be honest, it was.
It's because you had like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine.
I know, seriously, I had a lot of caffeine in me. A lot of caffeine. The worst part was that evening how stiff the back was pretty bad. My legs felt fine, but the back was pretty stiff. I actually think the worst part for me was actually there was a real moment I had of real disappointment, and that was when I remember when I left Tonk the second time when we caught you guys again. You were going with me, Lance. I really wanted to catch him again, so that I would only be a lap behind him, so that it was cooler for him because I wanted to be in that group with him, so I could have him go first when he finished.
Yeah.
Because it was like I told you, the one who organized this was Tonk. Like this was Tonk's thing, and it was awesome. And for anybody who doesn't know, this was Tonk's last day in Vancouver, which is sad because Vancouver, Portland. He lives in Portland.
Yeah.
Because he's going on to bigger, better things. He's going on to medical school. He's going to be your doctor one day. What
a way to go out.
I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's like good. I mean, he has this like cycling like storybook finish in this region. He basically set the bar for KOMs in this region to where you got to be like
he did.
You have to be training to take Tonk's KOMs.
Yes.
It's not like you go on a ride and take a Tonk KOM.
Why do you think we got all those e-bikes, man?
Yeah, this is the only way we're going to get them. I mean, me and Guyvan are talking about this now. We're like, for me now, hunting Tonk's KOMs is like purely out of respect. I'm like, Guyvan, we got to be in crazy shape to get these KOMs. Like, we got to be so fast. But, I felt really disappointed in myself that I was cracking to where I couldn't catch back onto him, where I was not able to get back.
Yeah, to get.
And that was why I wanted
lap.
you to keep that pace lines, because I was like, I think if we keep this pace, we'll get him in another 6, but it just didn't work.
We kept it for like 3 more, and then it was like, nope,
lights out.
Wheels are off.
Yeah, exactly. So that feeling of disappointment, actually, I remember that lap. I remember feeling really down on myself that lap. So that I would say was because it was happy all day. Like the first 45 laps, it was a blast.
It was fun.
I was having fun the entire time.
Yeah.
And then there was like lap probably 59 was the not fun moment. Yeah.
Keep spinning, Evan. Just keep spinning. I'm not doing good. Just keep spinning, Evan. Stay on my wheel.
I can't.
Would you make any changes to your equipment choices for the day?
Ooh, equipment choices. God, that would be the one. I would have taken off one of my bottle cages. That's honestly the only one I can think of.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
You didn't need it.
Because I had 2 bottle cages. I don't know why, because T was there handing me bottles the whole time, so I only needed 1 bottle.
So did it ever occur to you guys, or did you guys ever think about having redundancy with respect to your computers? Like having a spare Garmin running in your back pocket?
Yeah, so that would have been smart. My bike computer died on me because it is old and a bad bike computer, like I said, so I was running off my watch.
Those older ones only last like 5 hours.
Well, so you did have some redundancy. You had your watch and you had your computer.
I had my watch,
I think that's pretty good.
Which saved me because I can't imagine if I would have just had the computer and then it had died on me, that would have been rough. I think Tonk was just running his computer, though.
Yeah. I think he was.
Okay, yeah. I know somebody asked me, like, were you running your phone? I was like, oh, the phone battery would have been
smoked
toast by the end of that day. Yeah. There's no way you can't run Strava for that long on your phone.
It's interesting, like, because I do all these product reviews, right? And it's like, when do you need this product? It's like you can get by on pretty much all these different bike computers. They're all fine. They all work. But then there's situations where you're like, I'm going to try an Everest. I'm going to do a full Ironman. I want to collect all this data. It's like, okay, well, that eliminates 90% of your options.
Right.
And these are the things that you need to choose from.
Yeah.
And so your watch or your bike computer should have been able to do it had it been a little bit newer.
The watch was on it. I mean, the watch was awesome. And this is where I can kind of talk about too. For anybody looking at my Strava, my elevation game was off, and so was Tonk's actually. We had Tonk had verified the climb and the amount of laps. Yeah. The 66 number we did is actually over the Everest.
Right.
It's actually by
crossed over at 90 or 65 and a half.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's closer to 65. I think Tonk was actually short on it a little bit because I ran the math on what the Strava segment says the feet to climb is, and then go from there. But yeah, so we went over it, but there are about 8 laps on my ride that have a descent and no climb. So
it just shows flat.
Exactly. So this is why me and Tonk's distance is a little bit off. I think he had a couple that had a similar thing too, which is why his is off. So like me and Lance were talking, there was just a time period. I know Lance had a similar thing with his ride. They dropped 3 climbs off yours.
It was like 6.
It's the barometric
pressure
change.
Cassie's had 3 ascents that were chopped. So, it's just...
Does the tree canopy cover have anything to do with that? Maybe not picking up some satellite connectivity there?
So you lose
it's a very covered climb.
You lose satellite, but I think the barometric pressure is really where your numbers are going to get way off on elevation.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So anytime you do an event that's, really over like 3 or 4 hours, your barometric pressure is going to change enough. Well, it depends on weather, right? And so
pretty cloudy day.
Or cloudy, and then we talked about having the sun come through a couple times. Yeah,
that's why if you're doing an Everest attempt, you have to verify the segment beforehand. If you hadn't done that and you were just trying to go off your computer,
off. It would have said that me and Tonk did not do an Everest.
Right. Well,
if Tonk hadn't verified it. If Tonk hadn't verified it.
What did it show? Probably like 26 or 27 or something?
28 low.
And so you would have been I got to do another lap.
Would have been 2 more laps. Yeah, 2 more laps up it.
So with me, I did 25 laps with them, and it ended up being like 10,500 feet of climbing. But
then you autocorrect.
But it showed only 7,000 feet. Before I autocorrected
so much difference.
It's 3,000 feet that it needed to be corrected.
This is the only nice thing about me and Tonk doing this. If anybody, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and question us because it's not like, we're not even ballpark Lachlan's record or even being in the conversation for best ever. Yeah. But there were a lot of witnesses there. I think one is sitting right here who was literally there every single lap. My mom was there every single lap, and so was Annie. Came in at lap, what was she, 9 or 10, I think.
Yeah,
right there. So
people were there the whole time. There's no spot for you to cheat.
We were not the ones flipping the scoreboard. So which was actually you ever played intramurals basketball? It was like one of those little scoreboards there. So I kept on asking what quarter it was the whole time. Nobody thought that was funny. I thought that was
so Tonk was looking at the colors when he first set it down, and he was like red and blue. He's like, I think I'll be blue, and then he was like, wait a minute. I got to be home team. Yeah. Because it says home and away. I know. So he changed his mind and was like, I'll be red.
I noticed when I got there that the first one flipped over was on home team. I was like, I got to be away team today. I was like, it makes sense. I was like, Tonk put all the work in to set this up and already cleaned the street ones. I was like, he gets home team.
Oh, that's fun. Were you witness to Guy Van's attempt?
There's a couple things that happened throughout the day that I want to talk about that have nothing to do with me and Tonk.
So, real quick, before we get into this and hold that thought for a second. When we first got started, Nels Martin had the KOM on that segment. He did. So that segment is it a mile long?
It is 0.8 and a half, 0.85.
It's 1.4 kilometers.
Okay, so and then it's 490 feet of elevation gain?
I actually think it's less than that.
It's 480.
480. Yeah, thank you.
And then the average gradient is 10 or 11%?
9.9%.
Okay. So we'll
10%.
It's a beast of a climb. I mean, you have to be a climber in order to put in a solid effort.
Which Nels is.
Nels is one of our juniors, 16 years old.
Very fast.
How much would you say he weighs?
Not a lot.
Buck 35?
130.
When he's soaking wet, he weighs 85 pounds.
Of shredded 16-year-old muscle.
And he can put out more watts than all of us combined.
And brains. He's way smarter than any of us do. He's a very smart kid.
So
all the weight is in his brain.
I think so, yeah. His frontal lobe is most of his weight.
There you go. 360-ish watts, if I'm not mistaken.
370, I think.
Was it 370?
I want to give him those 10 because I'm pretty sure it was 370.
Somewhere in there.
Crazy.
5:08 was his time up That's smoking fast.
That's so fast.
That's seriously fast.
Yep.
So fast forward to that morning. John Hatfield wants to take a stab at it.
Yes.
Yep.
And he,
Poor Nels.
Yeah.
Can we shout out to poor Nels? Like, of all the places for us to do this, Everest, this is his home climb, by
It's
the way.
in the backyard, yep.
He loves this climb.
Yeah.
Like, Nels loves this climb.
Yeah. So he Hatfield comes out and takes a big stab at it, and according to his Garmin, he had it by a second. Fast forward to later on when he uploads it, he was at 520. So I don't know how it was off that much or what happened, but something was askew there. I'm not sure if there was an error or something like that, but regardless, he didn't get that.
Did he maybe stop pedaling a little early? He may have like stopped maybe a little early.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Well, when you finish and it's on a live segment, it will come up and say segment complete, and it showed him a crown, and it said that he got it by a second. Didn't get it.
Come on, Strava.
Now I've had that happen before with Garmin and Strava.
I've had it happen too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the guys are out there, and some random guy, Kent,
who is
Kent Ross.
Kent Ross shows up and
who's
like,
a Portland pro and very fast.
He comes out, he's like, "Hey, what's going on here today? Is there an Everesting attempt?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah." So he did a lap with you guys.
He rode a couple with us.
That
yeah,
is awesome. I didn't see this part.
Very fast guy.
He takes a stab at it in the middle of a 110-mile ride.
Yep.
Throws down a 446.
What?
448. I think.
He was the one that
was he 440. I think.
He's 446.
My bad.
446.
Yeah.
And he gets the KOM, and I see that later on in the day. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Because I'm thinking to
nobody's
myself,
ever touching that.
Hatfield's telling me he got it by a second. I'm like, oh, it's not in the family anymore.
So Kent, he had the KOM before Nels stole it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, so when he
there's some history here.
Yeah, when he got the he decided, okay, I'm gonna go back over and do it, and he decided to do it
on this day.
He just happened to do it on this day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he rode over with the intention, I'm gonna try to get this KOM back, and then I'll finish my 110-mile ride or whatever.
Because I'm a professional, and that's what professionals do: is steal a KOM and then ride 80 miles on top of it.
Took Nels lunch money there. But
really nice guy, by the way.
So
Kent was super nice. Like
super
I told him, I was
fast.
like, you need to come and visit us again in Vancouver and ride with us because he was a super cool guy.
Did he? Did anyone like ride? I mean, so there were e-bikes out there. Did anyone like ride with him, or was he just by himself?
He did a few laps with you
No,
guys.
he was by himself, but I rode like 2 or 3 laps with him.
Not when he went fast though.
This is the funny thing. When me and
he was
Tonk were
wrong.
going,
He did that by himself early in the morning.
When me and Tonk were riding down, he was doing his attempt up, and I remember. We were talking about, we're like, who was that? And Tonk was like, maybe it's the person was going so fast.
Right.
We thought like maybe that was Robert.
Yeah.
We're like, maybe they're out here going for the KOM. We're like, poor Nels. Robert's going to crush that KOM.
Yeah.
Later is when we found it was not Robert. Just because you're going down so fast, you see somebody out of the saddle who looks fast.
Yeah.
You're like, who's that fast? Probably Robert.
Well, we all know like the look of someone fast.
Oh, yeah.
climbing,
Yeah.
right?
And that's
He held 470.
Yeah, that's wicked fast
Oh,
and
my
strong.
gosh.
So I'm thinking to myself, poor Hatfield doesn't get it. And then then it was Guy Van came out, showed up in his brand new Beef Mountains kit.
yes.
which is an awesome kit.
It is.
His
It
Beef
is.
Mountains is his nickname, and he had a custom skin suit made with Beef Mountains on the leg
thigh,
and
the
Beef
back.
Mountains on the back.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Now, I don't think he knew at the time that this Kent guy, because when he did the
I'm not
the
sure if he
attempt-
did know that.
So
I don't
Lance,
even know.
Lance may know this story. Lance may know this.
So Kent told us he took an effort at it earlier.
Uh-huh.
And Guy Van did a lap with us before he
went.
made an attempt at it.
He rode and talked with us for a
Yeah.
minute. Yeah.
And we realized that Kent had made an effort earlier in the day that hadn't been uploaded yet. And so we're like, okay,
We don't know.
Guy Van, you got
Just got to go all out.
You got to really lay it
Yeah.
out. You got to really go.
I am anybody who rides a bicycle in this region should be terrified of Mike Guyvan in a 5-minute effort.
Yeah.
That guy's engine for 5 minutes is pretty terrifying.
So Guy Van rips off a 444.
Yeah.
He beats
Takes
him
it
by
by
2 seconds.
You're kidding me. I knew he broke 5. I just didn't know what the final time was.
If you watch Lance's video of that too, like that's later in the climb, right, Lance? That's towards the end.
It's right near the end.
He was saying he finished at like that last section. He was over 600 watts that entire last section.
What did he average again?
He averaged 457.
Yep. He is I think a little bit lighter than Kent. Kent's a strong rider.
I think he's about 160. I think
Yeah,
that's
165. Yeah.
somewhere in there.
yeah. Jake, you and I were right there filming when he went by with that.
Oh,
big-
yeah.
And we were just like, that looks like a real effort.
Yeah.
He's hurting.
So I was riding next to him. I'm on the e-bike, and I'm videoing with my cell phone, and I'm yelling I'm coaching things at him because he wasn't when he quit responding to me. I realized, he's really, really going.
He's not just kind of going for it. Yeah. He's
So then I started barking at him at the end to really, really go.
Did you play the Russian national anthem for him?
No,
that was earlier.
That was after.
Was that after?
Yeah. So Mike Guyvan is Russian.
Yes.
Yeah. And no, after he did his attempt, and he wasn't sure if he got it or not, but he thought he was riding some laps with Tonk and Evan.
Yeah.
And for just for fun, he pulled up the Russian national anthem and was playing it for Tonk and Evan.
I actually asked him, Joe. I was like, it's almost. I kept on asking Tonk. I was like, is it music time yet? Because I knew when Tonk was going to start hurting, he wanted to put in music. That's why he brought his iPod with him.
So and, Mike pulled out his phone and
so
pulled up
and played the Russian
national anthem.
That's hilarious.
I just happened to catch that on video too. So.
Yep.
Awesome. Anything else you want to tell us about that day?
So there was also another effort that I'm pretty ecstatic about earlier in the day. Elijah Enstrom and Alex Ampar rode early in the day with us.
Yeah.
Very early in the day because they both had to go to work, I believe, after.
Yeah.
So I help in coaching both of them. And they're both triathletes, both becoming pretty strong cyclists as I continue to try and convince them to road race more and more, which I don't think will be hard convincing because they're both enjoying cycling right now.
Good.
And they were going to ride together in the morning. And Elijah is really like Strava a lot. So he knew that he wanted to put in a really good effort. His goal was to get in the top 10 on the Forest Home segment. And I believe he got 7th, and he knocked out a 5:30.
Good for him.
Fifth. Tied for 5th.
Which is a
That's
strong
huge.
effort from Elijah. I mean,
he's 5th after all of this weekend of
debauchery.
Yep.
You know what's funny about that segment? Mm-hmm. The best time that I have on there, it says like 6.5 minutes or something like that. There's 2 different segments for Forest Home on there. My best effort registers on the other Forest Home, which doesn't come up anymore.
Really?
I don't know. It's like the GPS is weird or something like that.
I've wondered that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I think my best effort was like a 5:20 or something like that. That was like right when I first moved here, and I think it was the first time I went up that hill. I'm like, good God, when is this thing gonna end? Just
and then probably Nels and Sean deleted that one, then made a new Forest Home set.
Maybe. But my effort doesn't show up on that at all. My best effort.
It doesn't. No. Yeah. My best effort is the same as Jenny Hamness's best effort. So go figures.
There you go.
She's a climber though.
Jenny's already got 10K on you, so she's gonna kill you. Yeah.
She wears buck nothing. She can climb. So.
Yep.
Any parting shots? Any last bits of wisdom here?
If you're gonna if you're gonna do this attempt, I would say a couple things. This is a little bit different than I think just an ultra distance event. You really got it, and it's funny because Mike and Tonk were always messaging me for some coaching help with this, and we used to joke, we're like, nobody knows how to coach for this. We're like, Phil Guyman doesn't even know how to coach for this. He's even said it in his videos. He's like, how do you even train for this?
Right.
I think that the key is you've got to be able to build a lot of interval tolerance into your longer rides. So it's not just going out and riding 5 or 6 hours. Like if anybody looks at me or Tonk's Strava over the last 3 months leading up to this when we were training for it, it was a lot of long, hard rides. We really did not do – I don't think any of my long rides were just like zone 2. Like we would do – if we were doing indoor, we would do like repeats on Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah.
Over and over, which means you're going in and out of your zone 4. I mean, you got to be able to tolerate 5, 6, 7 hours into a ride hitting an interval that's going to be uncomfortable. Like this is not like maybe training for STP or something like that where you're like able to kind of chill for an hour. Depending on what climb you choose, it's going to be a lot of intervals. Yeah. And now you got to be able to control those intervals, but it's going to be intervals no matter how you slice it. Yeah.
What are you thinking the training effect is going to be for you? How is this going to play out over the next, say, month?
I hope that this entire summer's goal was just to get really strong on the bike. So I really hope I can go and start hunting some longer climb KOMs and start getting higher up on some of those lists, especially out in Oregon, some of the bigger climbs like Oregon Larch.
Is there anything that you have your eyes set on?
Washington Larch first.
Oh, wow.
Washington Larch first, yeah. That's the KOM. Tonk left some time on the table there because he dropped his chain too.
Yeah.
But that's the one I respect the most still because that's just kind of like was me, Guyvan, and Tonk's little battle there.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I know that he's Tonk's out of here, but that's the one I respect the most and want to go after. Livingston, I respect the heck out of him too because I was there that day when he got it. But the Larch is a longer climb, and I think more people probably know of that climb.
4.5 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
Gonna take a stab at the Washougal Triple Crown?
I would love to. I'm just not a great descent. I think I'm going to lose time on those descents, but I'll go. I'd love to go for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Let's be careful on the descending, guys.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's the thing
Lance.
is I know I'm not a wonderful descender, so
yeah. Well,
I got a lot of practice on Saturday though.
The descent to finish that Triple Crown, that's where I got hit. So,
yeah.
Gotta be careful,
maybe,
kids.
Maybe hold on that one for a bit.
I think I would have passed on any of those efforts.
Yeah.
Not that I could even come close to you guys now, but too old and too broken. That was a spectacular day. My hat goes off to you. That was fun being out there. It was kind of a challenge for me because I wanted to stay out there the whole day, but my wife had to go out of town for a family member's funeral.
Yep.
So I was there 3 different times during the course of the day. And
to me, it felt like you were there the whole day. Trust me. To me, you may have been gone, but to me, I was like, did I see Jake last lap? I'm not sure. He was there, I think.
Saw Matt when I was driving my wife to the airport.
Yeah.
And
I was like, where are you going? You're going the wrong way.
But yeah, it was fun. I did go out there on the e-bike, and I'm not supposed to be riding a bike, but that e-bike allowed me to do that.
It's basically a motorcycle. Yeah.
It kind of is. I mean, because I
really
can't, just roll downhill. That's not a problem. Then come back up. I didn't have to put any weight on my arms, so I was able to ride with you guys for, I think I did like 4 laps with you.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I loved seeing the e-bikes. Like, they were just funny to watch.
Yeah. Well, it was really fun, too, because there was a lot of people that probably would not have had the ability to ride with you, and I made them get on the e-bike and say, go do a lap, go ride with them, go do one and just have fun.
Nice thing.
Tonk's dad dropped us. My mom dropped us. Yeah. That's so Cassie dropped us.
I even got Chris Handel to go out there. He was like, he told me no probably like 57 times. I'm not getting on one of those. That's crack cocaine. It's a gateway drug. I'm not going to do it.
He had a lot of fun.
Yeah, he did. He had a big grin on his face.
It was nice because I wouldn't have been able to ride with you guys even for, maybe for one.
I think you could have, trust me. We were going slower than people realize. If you were to put in like a couple hard climbs, you would have been with or dropping us. Yeah.
It was nice to have the e-bike though, because then we're conversational. Yeah. And, for other people that are like listening to the podcast and they're yelling at us like, oh, you're pacing him. That's against the rules. It's not against the rules.
No.
So in fact, in the
Tell
rules,
you what, there's not a lot of drafting available on that climb.
But in the rule book, you've got, they make a joke of it. Like it's like Sherpaing like you would do on Mount Everest. Right. And so I think that there's more that we could have done because you never really like drafted off of anyone, but you could. You could do some stuff on the descending, and you could do stuff on the climbing, and someone could really like.
I was actually
trying
trying to like stay away from people on the descent. To be honest, just because there were times where you're next to people, but it's a fast descent, so you don't want to be like right next to somebody. And there's also we had a sharp turnaround. At the bottom, so for some reason in my head I always had this thought. Me and Tonk got really good at the sharp turnaround there at the bottom, but I was always afraid somebody was gonna like not have cleaned their brakes right that day, and I was gonna be taking because me and Tonk got this nice little. Same loop we were taking each time. I actually saw the same rock. There was this one rock. I remember the rock very well. I left the rock when I left because I did not want to touch the rock. But I went around the rock perfectly. And I was so afraid someone was going to be like buzzing down and not realize that that's the turn that we took. So we tried to maintain some space there. Yeah.
You guys did have some cool markers. You had people that made signs for you. There was signs that were staked in the ground. There was wood blocks with the encouragement on there. There was sidewalk chalk on the thing.
Chalk,
there was a big pile of puke in a spot.
Yes, there was.
Oh, that's the other funny story.
We were all like, which one of them puked?
So people thought, and I'm sure everybody thought it was me. Because that was
looked like Swedish fish there,
We have so me and Tonk had 4 mysteries throughout the day. There was who did the wood stake signs, who did the wood block signs, who did the chalk, and who puked. We figured out
3 of the 4.
3 of the 4. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, 2 of the 4.
2 of the 4.
The signs that were staked in the ground, they're thinking someone was speculating that might have been some neighbors.
Yeah, because Tonk passed out some letters.
Yeah.
And there were some everybody who lives around there. I'm not sure if they listen to this or not, but you guys were so nice. It was so cool. Like,
it was good.
There were some neighbors who came out. They're like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" You're like, "Oh, that's cool. Have fun."
There were a lot of people who stopped in the car, like, "What's going on? What's the deal here? What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
And there was even one lady. She's like, "Oh, should I not drive down the road?" And I'm like, half thinking in my head, "Yeah, go somewhere else." But just go down, just be mindful of cyclists.
We're used to the cars at that point.
Yeah, it was fun. And then you had a donut too, didn't you?
I did. Oh, Jake was a hero with the donuts at the. It was funny because I know that it was weird what I wanted. That twist one that you had, was exactly like the custard one would have been a little bit much. I was like, oh god, the custard's gonna be a lot in the stomach.
Bomb,
But that twist donut was just absolutely perfect.
Good. I figured the human garbage can would appreciate that.
You can see in the back of Matt's YouTube video, actually, Jake is grabbing the box of donuts off the car there, right? As
I want to make sure you got one. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, you guys?
I think there's stuff you could do to go faster.
I agree.
Oh,
I completely agree. You know what's funny?
Why
you know
would
when
you do it again?
I'm not saying you would.
Do you know when you asked me in the interview, like, when would you give this again? 10 years? I would do this again next year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I would actually even train for this fall when it's cooler and do it again. I genuinely believe I can go close to 10 hours. I think my absolute max, I think I can be right close to that low 10s, high 9s area.
I think that there's stuff that, like, even, I don't think Lachlan Morton, it's obviously super fast, but, like, I think there's stuff that even he's not doing that someone's going to do.
Time off, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because think about it, there's no rules.
Yep.
There's no UCI bike compliance stuff. There's so many rules that you could just...
Your bike could be 12 pounds going up and down that.
Well, yeah, you could switch bikes
yes.
at the top and descend on one bike and ascend on a different one.
Point.
You could do full nose cone aero. There's no rules. They should change some rules. Yeah. But a lot of aerodynamics are going to come into play on the downhill.
Yep.
And you could do longer segments and you could have different routes.
And I think if you do the same climb again, I'm sure me and Tonk would both agree, you know exactly how you're going to feel at certain points. So obviously I would go back to that and be like,
it'd be better. Yeah.
I've got to slowly descend the pace, and I know that I can't go as early as I went. So yeah, there's definitely time to be had.
I think that potentially, I think you guys did a really nice route, and I think knowing the route makes a lot of sense.
I think there are other. I think that climb was perfect.
I think there are other routes that would be better.
You think so?
Well, this is like figment of my imagination, right? Where it's like something where there's a cul-de-sac at the end where you can have a bigger turn.
That would be perfect.
Because you want to minimize the amount of zero, right? So any of those sharp turns at the top and the bottom, those are zeroing out your pace, basically.
That's
You're going 0 miles an hour for a second.
If you could carry some space, like some pace around a turn.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely things like that could help. I was even thinking, like, what if you lubed your bike chain in the middle of it? Like when Tonk took his one break,
he should.
Like someone could come in there.
There
You guys didn't have spare wheels. You guys didn't have. Did
Nothing.
you? I mean,
no.
You're lucky that you didn't have any
I
flats
didn't think in the car.
because.
I mean, I was running tubeless with Jake's wheels, so I know that I brought tubes in case something went bad and we just throw a tube in.
But I mean, like in a tour situation, you'd have a wheel swap
or an extra bike.
Yep.
Well, and I guess there was enough people there that someone would have just given you their wheel. Probably,
that was the good thing about it, is because you basically did a lap every 10 minutes. You got encouragement and love and support every 10 minutes.
The other thing that's interesting about that is the crowd was at the top. If the crowd was in the middle, you would have had that every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which descending, I don't know if you really want that. I think it's probably better where you had it because you're slow at the top and you can get handouts and stuff. I think that's. But if you did have a flat,
the top was pretty perfect for handouts.
The top was good,
but it'd be having somebody in the middle if you have a mechanical would be big.
Yeah.
I
think there's a lot more that we could do.
I would not
to play the game.
Yeah, I would not suggest anybody doing this by yourself.
No.
I really don't think. Like, I think unless you're, there's people out there who have done it by themselves, I'm sure, and will continue to do it by themselves. That's a tough day.
I think Aero helmet, and I know this sounds crazy, but I think that they make helmets, and Jake, you'll be able to comment on this. I don't know which one's which, but like the ones with the visors that slide down for, aerodynamics and then slide up for the wind ventilation. Because when you're descending, you're going 50 miles an hour? Like that's all aerodynamics.
Aero helmet, you can grab yourself 2-3 miles an hour average,
which is crazy.
The Giro Vanquish, if I'm not mistaken, has that visor.
It does.
That slides up and down.
Yeah.
And then another thing I was thinking, like, what if someone cleans your glasses? Or I know you didn't really. Did you wear glasses for some of it or no?
I wore no glasses. Yeah.
I mean, I think Tonk maybe changed glasses.
Tonk was actually talking about that at one point because he had his clears and they were starting to get dirty
Gross.
at the top.
Yeah.
So he switched them out for his
I was just thinking, like,
ones.
Basically, you need like a pit crew, right? I mean, where it's like,
yep,
you had people helping you guys. You guys had really good help.
Yeah.
But a fast wheel change or a fast bike chain lube or clean glasses, if that was all planned ahead of time, that would have been interesting.
Exactly.
So I kept thinking, like, I was making the video and I was like, oh, there's all this stuff. Once I read the rules, I was like, this is a free for all. You can do anything.
A lot you can do.
You could descend on one set of wheels and ascend on a different set, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that would make that much sense. But
if you have a longer,
longer climbs, it starts to be, you start to think of like all the stuff you could do. That one was a great descent because it was straight, and I think that's the key, right? Like you want to descend where you don't have all those curves, which, if you're descending Mount Hood, then it's a little sketchy.
Exactly.
So
it really was kind of a perfect descent for that.
I think it's interesting, other things too. Like you guys were both on disc brakes. Rim brakes would have been lighter.
Yep.
But I think you want the stopping power.
At the bottom,
stopping power for the turnaround that we needed.
I think that's it. I mean, you guys were on. I think you were on the perfect wheel sets because you guys are on like mid aero. Basically, both of you guys were on probably, I don't know what they were, 40 mil.
Yeah.
I wish I would say because you want aerodynamics on the way down, and they're still light enough weight that they'd be fine going up.
Oh yeah. Jake's fake was light as they get going uphill. It was good.
That's cool.
I think the bike was probably what, Jake, 16.
Just over 16 pounds.
Just 16, yeah.
You could do crazy stuff like Phil Guyman. Didn't he cut his handlebars?
Yeah.
Yep.
For some fun. You could do that because you're probably descending on the tops and things anyway. There's a lot.
Absolutely.
How many gear changes did you do? Did you stay in that big tooth the whole?
I used 3 gears all day. When I started to push, I jumped up into what would that have been, the 31 or whatever?
Yeah.
And I stayed in the 31 for like 6 laps. Even through the steep section, I was like out of the saddle. Looking back, that was probably a bad decision. I should have stayed in the 33 during the steep sections. Yeah. And then a couple laps I did. There was one where I don't know what I was thinking. I think through a section, I just like went. I should have been peeking on my heart. I probably went like deep in the red one section. I did jump up into whatever, the 29 or something. And yeah, that was dumb. So I think I used 3 gears all day.
Wow.
Descending, what'd you use?
Nothing.
You didn't.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Just tuck and
roll.
roll.
Yeah,
so then
you could
there
turn
you go.
around right there. You don't even have to
He could
pedal.
go one by.
I never.
Yeah.
On all
could go one
my
by.
all my attempts, I never changed a gear. Yeah. I only had a 28 on, but I just left it in 28 the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things I think also, we talk about rolling resistance and things like that. The roads were pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect road for that.
So you can run slightly different tire pressure. You could run some tires that are a little bit sketchy, like the Vittoria Corsa Speed. That would be one. You had the 5000s, right? GP 5000s.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty awesome option.
It was good for the durability of the turnarounds too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there's more that we could.
There's time on the table, definitely.
We'll get you sub 10.
There we go.
Next weekend.
tuned.
Next weekend,
Next
guys.
week.
Come on, Lachlan.
6 days later.
Can you imagine doing that again this coming weekend?
Oh my!
How many days later was it? 7 days.
Days.
Yeah.
What a
I
crazy.
think it was actually 6. I don't think it was a full week later. I think it was like 6 days later.
His first attempt, he really wasn't planning on doing it.
No, he just woke up and was like, "Hey, Dad, want to go toss me
Yeah.
bottles?"
He's a crazy person.
He's like, Dad, come help me. I'm gonna do a few repeats on this climb and see if it's gonna work for my. And he ended up going for it.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
I could.
Insane.
I guess if you told me, if you told me like, all right, you absolutely have to do it this 7 days from now, I could. It would be probably 3 hours slower.
Yeah.
I'd be a wreck by the end and wouldn't want to see a bicycle for three
I think
months.
Jake's point of there's going to be some training effect is interesting. Like I think like 2 weeks from now, maybe it's going to be.
I think it's going to be this upcoming weekend.
Probably, yeah. I'd say like 7 days to kind of recover from that. And I know that you're going to train this week, but I think you're going to start to feel it in about a week or two from now.
Yeah.
Probably about 2 weeks, I'd say.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Find something fun.
We'll see.
I don't know what you're
We're
going
going to turn you loose on a couple segments and just
I think there's
see how
going
you
to
do.
be a couple I want to
That'd
get.
be cool.
Yeah. There's a couple efforts I've been waiting for this to
We're
do post.
Going to need to borrow the e-bike.
There you go.
That's
I'll come
Team's
video.
going to have to
There you
purchase
go.
one of those,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
it around, motor pacing people, coaching them. All right, let's jump into one last thing. Lance.
I was asked on one of my laps, Lance, why didn't you just do this with them? No.
Because it's stupid.
It's stupid. That was from David.
Once you get a third of the way in, though, you really do have to ask, like, I mean, I was out here already a while.
I really wasn't. I mean, I was tired, but I wasn't sore at all.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't push hard. But anyway.
10K's well with it. Lance has turned himself into a climber here.
No, I have not.
That's cool. Evan, one last thing.
I just want to thank my mom for coming out
Yeah.
to Washington State. That's a long flight.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
It's a stressful time period to be traveling too. She did awesome with it. She's been here, she's leaving tomorrow, but she's been here since Thursday, and I'm glad I could at least give you something interesting to watch for a little bit. I'm glad you actually got to see Portland too. So, yeah.
It's great being here.
Matt, one last thing.
I posted a video to YouTube. Guess what it's about?
Everesting.
You should definitely check it out.
Yeah.
You should
Harass me as much as
just
possible.
drop some comments. I mean, it really was. I don't think that I did it justice. Being there with the crowd was really magical.
It was.
And it's really hard to I mean, first of all, how do you prepare to know like that's going to happen? You don't. And so I did my best, but it was cool to be there, and you can at least see some of that in the video. So
great.
Check it out.
That was an awesome video, Matt. That's one of my favorite videos you've put out there.
Well, there's biking in it.
Well, exactly. I was just going to say
it's a triathlon channel.
Yeah, I don't want to be a homer about it, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done.
Thank you.
I
Thank
had
you.
a little bit of like comedy, a little bit of fun in there. The characters that you picked out for the show or for the episode, whatever it is that you call those things, those were fun. You guys did good, and go check it out. Where can they see that again?
YouTube.com/MLegrand, MLEGRAND, and subscribe and hit that like button. Whatever people do.
Smash that notification.
Tonk nailed it. Like he's like exhausted from his ride, and he's like, hit that like button, subscribe, smash it. Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah. Awesome. My one last thing is my doctor's appointment tomorrow is hopefully going to yield me some news that I can potentially, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, get back on a bike soon.
Potentially, maybe, hopefully.
I can't sit on the sidelines anymore, you guys. I don't know. Just it's summertime. Watching everybody else ride sucks. It's like the third summer in a row that it's been something. I need to be able to get out there, and I need to get trained. And I'm tired of being soft and chubby.
Well, it's awesome that this surgery has gone so well that this is an option, because you didn't know if you were going to be like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
You know?
It still hurts, but I'm making decent progress.
Absolutely.
So,
he pushed really hard through the first couple weeks. First 2 weeks,
Stupid continuous passive range of motion.
Oh, yeah.
It's sinister.
He's going to need to like frame the passive range of motion machine after this, or sell it for like,
office space. You know, when they go to town on the printer, I'm going to do that.
That'd be perfect. We could play.
Come pick it up. The medical device companies can pick it up. I don't know. It's just disappeared. All right, that's it. That's podcast 123, you guys.
Nice.
Wow.
And again, to all of our patrons, thank you very much. If you are interested in becoming a Patreon yourself, go to dialpodcast.com. You will see it right there on the landing page. Patreon. Click on that, and it'll take you through to our little dog and pony show, and it'll show you a couple different options that you can be a part of the show with, and maybe win a buff like Jenny and Terry Hammonds did. No, they're just as the Hammonds family. Do we have to give them 2? Or do they just win one buff?
That's up to you, Jake. This is your show, man.
Figure that out. Knowing Jenny, she's going to arm wrestle me for that second one. That's it. Guys, thank you again. Evan, again, hats off to you. And Tonk, congratulations to you. I wish that you could have been here today, but you are probably driving into Spokane right now as we're recording this. And we wish you and Annie all the best as you start your little adventure into grad school. And your family's growing, and it's just, man, you left on a good high note.
Yes,
he left quite the legacy here.
Yes.
There's going to be, I hope people talk about Jesse Tonkinson in this region in like 10, 20, 30 years. Yeah, I think they will be.
He's going to be one of those guys that does good things. So
absolutely,
and this is just him getting started in life. So thank you for listening. We will see you all next week. Bye for now.